Without the right control measures in place, breathing in dust that contains crystalline silica can lead to chronic disease and cancer. Silica is present in almost everything we deal with on a daily basis in construction, so the action you take today could save your life. In this video, we'll explain what crystalline silica is and ways you and your workmates can work safely with PGH products. What is crystalline silica? Crystalline silica is found naturally in stone, rocks, sand, gravel and clay. When these materials are processed or disturbed during cutting or grinding, they can generate fine silica dust that's known as Respirable Crystalline Silica, or RCS. RCS particles are 100 times smaller than a grain of sand, so you could be breathing them in on site without knowing it. These small particles get caught deep in your lungs, and your body is unable to get rid of them. Prolonged or significant uncontrolled exposure to RCS dust can lead to a disease called silicosis, which is an incurable lung disease that gets worse over time. If you're a smoker or have an existing respiratory condition, you may be at greater risk of harm. It's easy to prepare. First, refer to the PGH cutting guide available online for guidance on the safe work methods for these products. Second, it's all in your safe work method statements, SWMS. So if you don't have a SWMS or haven't signed on to it, then you shouldn't be cutting PGH products. The SWMS will instruct you on the suitable equipment, including PPE, that you'll need to have available, and why it's so important to protect yourself and others. Ensure you have a disposable P2 mask or respirator available. Make sure you're clean-shaven and that the mask has been properly fit-checked. Remember how small the particles are, so if the mask has not got a seal, any dust generated can still get in. You must replace masks and filter components regularly, as they become ineffective over time. Refer to the manufacturer's instructions for guidance. To protect yourself from other hazards when cutting PGH products, make sure you also have impact-rated eye protection, hearing protection, and gloves. Even if you have a properly fitted P2 respirator and are following the recommended cutting guide, it's not enough to protect others from exposure when cutting. Always undertake a site assessment to determine the risks associated with the cutting method and what the right controls are. Where there's a risk of exposure to RCS, speak with other trades working in your direct area. Ask that they wear a P2 mask or respirator or leave the immediate area while you're doing the work that creates RCS dust. Cutting. The safest method to eliminate the risk of creating RCS dust when cutting PGH products is hand cutting using a hammer and bolster or trowel. This can be done safely with full PPE without the need for a P2 mask. If using a wet brick cutter or grinder, make sure you are clean-shaven and wearing a well-fitted P2 mask or respirator and full PPE. When wet cutting, only cut in an outdoor, well-ventilated area or in a cutting room. Use a wet brick cutting saw fitted with a slurry tray that provides continuous water flow to the cutting surface and blade. Dry cutting with a grinder should only be performed with a grinder equipped with on-tool dust extraction fitted with an M or H class filter for a maximum of 4 hours per day. It's important to cut in a well-ventilated area or designated cutting room. Never dry cut PGH products with a grinder or saw, as this creates excessive dust. Cleaning up. Brick offcuts should be disposed of as trade waste. Slurry from the wet cutting saw should be bound with a quarter bag of Hebel adhesive or a similar compound to harden it prior to disposing as trade waste. Never dry sweep because it generates dust. Either wet the dust before sweeping up or use a vacuum with an M or H class HEPA filter. Clean up regularly. Place the wet dust or dust from the vacuum into a sealed bag, double bagging it for safety, and dispose of it as trade waste. If you are using a vacuum to clean up or an on-tool extraction device, make sure you clean the M or H class HEPA filter regularly, and more often when there's heavy dust exposure. Refer to the manufacturer's instructions for guidance. Remember, never walk past. If it doesn't feel right, then speak up. That action could save a life. If you have any questions regarding RCS, please contact your supervisor.